If in your home you have the food habit of a typical Indian household, you all will know the importance of sugar in your lives. Sugar is the basic necessity of our Indian household. We need it before exams, during festivals, and even when guests would come to meet us. But all this goodness and happiness that comes with this ingredient called sugar comes with a cost. It has also been said by the nutritionist that sugar is a poison and it is the new smoking.
Sugar basically is poison, is the new smoking.
Many of you might be surprised by this fact, right? But let's take a look at this graph. All you can see that the number of deaths caused by diabetes in India has increased dramatically from 1990 to 2015. In fact, in recent years, media reports have claimed India to have become the diabetes capital of the world. And this excessive consumption of sugar is a major reason why there is a high spike in diabetes cases. Researchers has also revealed a very interesting data that an average Indian consumes almost 50 grams of sugar every day, which equals to nearly 10 spoons. Whereas the World Health Organization recommends the ideal consumption of sugar shall be 10% of your total energy intake, which is nearly 25 grams, or we can say 5 spoons per day. But India did not got this title of diabetes capital overnight. In fact, India has been facing this problem from several years. So let's watch who is responsible for this: companies, politicians, or consumers. So first let us understand that what we mean when we say the word sugar. Apart from white sugar which we see in our kitchen containers, India has a variety of traditional sweeteners such as jaggery or khand. All three of them are obtained from sugarcane juice, but they have huge differences in their terms of processing. Since sugar is made by refinery processing methods, all the nutrients are exhausted from it, which is why it is the unhealthiest. But jaggery and khand do retain nutrients. If you look around yourself, you will rarely find jaggery or khand, but you will surely come across with white sugar. How did it happen? To understand this, we need to dive deep till 400 years back into the Indian history. For Indians, sugar has always been a symbol of happiness and celebration, but the history of sugar has rather been a bitter one. Our story starts in 17th century when the Europeans had colonized most part of the world. The Europeans were traditionally relied over honey, which was limited in supply, but then they discovered that some countries in the Western Hemisphere are perfectly suited for growing sugarcane, or we can say ganna. But there was a problem. Growing and harvesting sugarcane involved hard and extensive labor, and the local manpower were very scarce, rather it was unavailable. But the Europeans solved this problem by using slavery trade. The Europeans bought African slaves to these countries. Along with that, millions of poor Indians were forcefully transported to the colonized territories. In simple words, sugar was available in abundance in Europe because of the extensive labor done by these slaves in these plantations. Now let's come to India. According to our research in India, the reference to sugarcane cultivation and the preparation of sugar is found in an Indian religious text which is known as Arthaveda. In fact, sugar was first produced in India only. So traditionally, Indians have used jaggery or gur and khand as sweeteners. But as the Britishers started large-scale industrial production of refined white sugar, in the end of 19th century, this refined sugar was introduced to India as well. This chemically produced refined sugar is now found in biscuits, mithai, chocolates, etc. Now people, from year 1930, the modern sugar processing industry in India was started with a grant of tariff protection to the sugar industry, which then led to a sharp increase in the number of sugar mills and the sugar production. In fact, between 1930 and 1935, production increased by 460%. Today, India is the second largest producer of sugarcane, next to Brazil. And while at the time of independence, 2/3 of the sugarcane production was used for producing jaggery and khandsari, and now only 1/3 is used for their production. Hence, we can say that the major portion of sugarcane goes into the production of white sugar. Now the question arises, why is that the case? Because with industrialization, white sugar has become cheaper and its demand has been soared. Like I already mentioned, white sugar comes with a lot of mid-age problems. So first let us understand the nature of the problems, then we will discuss how these problems arose. So white sugar creates 3 health complications. First is empty calories, means white sugar adds calories without any nutritional benefits, which is not the case with jaggery and khand. Secondly, white sugar makes people crave more. Eating white sugar releases a neurotransmitter called dopamine in our brain. So dopamine is a chemical that plays a role in how we feel pleasure. So because of sugar leads to the release of dopamine, which leads to pleasure, we love having more and more sugar. Dopamine is also released when someone smokes a cigarette. So this is why it becomes very difficult for smokers to quit smoking. And thirdly, eating large amount of white sugar is strongly linked with increases in the risk of diabetes. The more sugar you consume, the higher are the chances that you will end up suffering from diabetes. You might know that people suffering from diabetes are at risk of chronic health problems such as heart attack. So a large number of studies have also found that people who regularly drink sugar-sweetened beverages have roughly 25% greater risk of type 2 diabetes. Whereas the natural sugars which are found in fruits and vegetables don't have the risk of diabetes. But fruits and vegetables contain natural sugar, which is less harmful to your body. So you will be surprised to know that sugar is not only bad for our health, but it is also quite damaging to the environment. Sugarcane is one of the most water demanding crops in the world. H.M. Desrada, a senior economist, says that 1 hectare of sugarcane consumes 3 crore liters of water in just 12 to 15 months. That water is sufficient for 1,000 people throughout the year. On the other hand, farmers are also opting to cultivate sugarcane due to higher returns. For example, Maharashtra is a drought-prone region, and sugarcane isn't the only crop that the farmers can cultivate there. They can also cultivate crops that require less water, such as jowar and pulses, but they prefer farming sugarcane. A Niti Aayog report has also showed that the returns from sugarcane cultivation are nearly 60% to 70% higher than most other crops. Let's see why white sugar is so popular in India. 3 factors are responsible for the popularity of white sugar in India. The first is the packaged food industry in India. The direct kitchen consumption of sugar in India is not an issue. 1 teaspoon of sugar with a cup of tea or a weekly mithai is nothing to worry about. But the problem arises when people start consuming a lot of packaged food when they have no clue how much sugar these products have. Fruit juices, yogurts and breakfast cereals that are promoted as healthy choices are often loaded with added sugars. For instance, consider health drinks such as Bonvita and Horlicks. Horlicks claims it is clinically proven to help kids to grow faster, taller, stronger and sharper. Complan claims it is clinically proven that it aids to 2x faster growth in children. Basically, the ad shows that Horlicks and Complans are healthy, right? But experts argue that these drinks don't really deserve this healthy tag. For example, 20 grams of Bonvita contain 14.2 grams of sugar. Do you think it's really healthy? The myth of healthy drinks is created by extensive marketing strategies. Just look at the advertisements that are made for kids. Companies are using aggressive marketing strategies such as celebrity endorsements, use of cartoon characters, catchy slogans, and inclusion of free gifts. All these strategies attracts kids. So the doubt here is there any authority in India that is checking if the products that are advertised are healthy as they are actually healthy? No, there is no such authority. One of the key reasons behind this is the political influence of the Indian sugar mills. In 2018, Smriti Irani said that the government has no plans to impose a ban on the advertisement of high-fat, sugar and salty foods. We can say that the sugar is the most politicized industry in India. All factories are owned by politicians and each politician hopes to own one. Due to politicization, sugar is oversupplied in India. India's demand for sugar is 25 million tons per year. But because of political support involved, we produce more than 35 million tons. In addition, this politicization is also responsible for the terrible situation of the farmers. 2 years ago, the total 180 sugar factories in Maharashtra that owe payments to the sugarcane farmers were linked to one or another politician. The politicization of the sugar industry has led sugarcane farmers across India to wait for dues worth more than 25,000 crores. and this figure continues to grow daily. The third reason behind this surge in domestic consumption of sugar is the stagnation of price. This graph shows that the sugar's prices hasn't really changed in the last 7 years. Finally, let's talk about the solutions to this problem. Firstly, the government needs to regulate the marketing of food and drinks because the voluntary regulation isn't working. The voluntary regulation by the companies has given a chance to the food and drink companies to call themselves healthy. Secondly, the government needs to help farmers so that they can make their transition away from sugarcane to other crops such as pulses or jowar, etc. But it is possible only if the government opposes the political influence of sugar mills. It's certain whether the government will regulate their marketing or not, but we can expect them not to sell us sugar-loaded products tagged as healthy. Now let's see what we can do as an individual level. At an individual level, we should replace packaged foods with fruits and vegetables. We should also limit the use of white sugar and replace it with khand or jaggery. Probably the most difficult task is not to fall on the marketing strategies but rather study the nutritional level of the products to check the amount of sugar involved in it. So the key takeaway of this video is not that we should cut the sugar from our lives entirely. Many of us love sugar and love sweets and there is nothing wrong with it. But when your sugar intake exceeds the limit, it will start creating troubles. And right now the government, the sugar mills and the brands all are guilty of this problem. Let me know what do you think about this in the comment sections below. Thank you so much.